Jai Jinendra. Welcome to Adults Class 2, Practical Applications of Jainism. Let's start with the Nokar Mantra. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Ujjayanam, Namo Vesavasanam. Yeso Panchanamo Karo Sarvapa Parashanam Mangalam Jasavesim Paramam Male Mangalam. How are you feeling today?
Great. Good.
So last week we talked about one feeling, happiness. So this week I want to open up the discussion to all feelings and emotions and how we can use those feelings and emotions to increase the quality of our life. So technically emotions are different from feelings, although we use the terms interchangeably. Emotions are responses to stimuli that are immediate and instinctive. And they're universal across people and across cultures. And they typically involve three things. A physical response, so fear might cause your heart to beat faster. Anger might make you tense your muscles. And happiness might give you a feeling of warmth. So those physical responses are regulated by your nervous system. The second thing is expressive behavior. An emotion might make you change your facial expression usually. Smile might make you raise or lower your eyebrows, might change your voice too. And the third thing is cognitive appraisal, that is, how you feel about the emotions. That is what's called feelings. That is, feelings are subjective experiences of emotions, the way you perceive the emotions that are happening to you. So the emotions are immediate and instinctive, but the feeling is more long-term. And they're influenced by a couple of factors: your past experience, your thoughts and your beliefs, and what social context you're in. And feelings are not universal. And a simple example is you can have the emotion of surprise, and you might feel good about it because it's a good surprise. Somebody gave you a surprise birthday party. But you might have a same feeling of surprise, and it's bad because a dog just started barking at you. So the feeling is different from the emotion. So the same base emotion, but you feel differently about it because it's an interpretation of the emotion. And so feelings are not universal across culture or people. Hey, come on in. Because you can feel different ways about things. Different cultures feel different ways about things. Different people feel different ways about things. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So last week we talked about happiness, but this week we're going to talk about all feelings, which are different from emotions. So emotions are immediate and universal, and feelings are how we interpret those emotions. So what are the emotions? The emotions are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. Okay, these are kind of what's called the basic emotions, and other emotions are a mix of the two. And when you start getting into a mix of a lot of emotions, then we call that a feeling too sometimes. That is, because it's so melded together, we eventually think of them as feelings. So a feeling might be love, which is a mix of joy and trust. A feeling might be, a complex emotion might be jealousy, which is a mix of anger, fear, and sadness. Okay, so maybe you guys want to guess. What is a mix of sadness and fear?
Success.
Success?
Mm-hmm.
Sadness and fear mixed together?
Mix of fear, not sadness. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sadness and fear.
Sadness and fear are mixed.
We call that guilt, okay? What is sadness and embarrassment? We call that shame. Shame, okay? How about joy and satisfaction?
Happy.
We call that pride. A lot of people think happiness and joy are the same thing. Embarrassment is a mix of shame and surprise. Envy is a mix of anger and sadness. Awe is a mix of surprise and admiration.
Right.
Relief, this is an interesting one. It's a mix of joy and a removal of fear. So you experience relief when something is removed that you were fearful of and you're happy about it. That's called relief. And gratitude is a mix of joy and appreciation. Hey, come on in. So to continue with more mixes of feelings, contentment is a type of happiness. Boredom is a mixture of frustration and lack of interest. Anticipation is a mix of excitement and uncertainty. What is a mix of interest and anticipation? What do you think we call that?
Interest and anticipation.
Yes. What is the feeling or emotion we call a mix of interest and anticipation?
What is anticipation in this case?
Anticipation is excitement plus uncertainty.
Anxiety, maybe, yeah.
It is curiosity, actually. Longing is a mix of sadness and desire. We call that longing. Disappointment is a mix of sadness and frustration. The frustration is a mix of anger and impatience. Confusion is a mix of surprise and uncertainty. What do you think a mix of anger and bitterness is called?
Jealousy.
We call that resentment. What do you think a mix of optimism and desire is called? Hi, come on in. How are you doing?
Ambitious.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
Like that.
We call that hope. Thank you. So we're talking about feelings today and how we can use those feelings to increase the quality of your life. We just went through the difference between emotions and feelings. Emotions are basic and feelings are how we interpret those emotions. And we just talked about the basic emotions and how those mix to make more complex emotions. There are even more complex emotions than that. These don't kind of fit into any category. That is, you can't call them a mix of things, but they exist. Emotions or feelings such as nostalgia, regret, pity, sympathy, empathy, elation, satisfaction, humiliation, suspicion, and admiration. So questions or comments about that? We all understand the difference between emotions and feelings?
No.
No.
I'm not sure about it.
So emotions are immediate and they're usually accompanied by a physical response and they're universal across people and culture. So everybody experiences happiness, surprise, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. How you can tell something is a feeling is if it's not universal across cultures or people, because it's the interpretation of those emotions. That is, when you're surprised, you might feel good about that because it's a good surprise. But when you're surprised, you also might feel bad about that because it's a bad thing that's happening to you. It's the same feeling. It's the same emotion, but it's a different feeling because you have interpreted it differently.
It depends on person to person, you mean?
Exactly. Feelings are different from person to person, but emotions are the same for everybody.
So happy is an emotion.
That's right, yes. Okay, so what does that have to do with Jainism? And
So, does feeling also stays for a longer period? Like emotions, it came and gone, right? When the feeling stays for a longer time?
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Long term, short term.
All right, so now that we're good on that, what does that have to do with Jainism and increasing the quality of your life? Well, we have the 4 passions. Who remembers what the 4 passions are? Anger, ego, deceit, greed, right? Now, are those feelings or emotions or both or none? How about anger?
It's an emotion.
That's an emotion, right? Emotion.
Yes.
Ego.
That's a feeling?
That's a feeling. That might involve pride.
Yeah.
It might involve satisfaction. It might involve maybe a feeling of superiority over other people, right?
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a feeling. Greed. Is that a feeling or an emotion?
Feeling.
That's a feeling, right? A greed might involve maybe other feelings or emotions such as envy, right? We get greedy when we're envious of other people.
Jealousy.
Jealousy, very good. So greed is a feeling. Anger, ego, deceit. Oh, sorry, we skipped deceit. Deceit. Is that a feeling or an emotion?
Emotion.
Deceit. It seems like a verb, kind of, right? You're deceitful. You lie. It's something you are, that's a part of you. It doesn't
Emotion.
feel like an emotion to me. It doesn't feel like you're something that's some stimuli that's causing a response in your body to be deceitful. You're purposely deceitful, right? So it might be more of a feeling. It might be kind of like a verb too,
It's an
right?
action, yeah.
So
In fact, if it would have been emotions, you would not do it because deceitful is like kind of plan, you know, it's like
Right.
not just happening.
premeditated,
Yeah, it
right?
may be a
Exactly.
judgment about a person, right? So
Right. So what feelings or emotions might be associated with deceit? We lie to people because we feel shame, right? We're afraid to admit something. Why do we lie to people?
But it could be the same across different cultures, right?
Deceit?
Yeah.
We might, I think in different cultures we might lie for different reasons. Tell me why you lie.
Sometimes to protect someone's feelings.
To protect
Because you think it
someone's
would be
feelings.
hurtful, you're trying to
white
protect
lies,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so that's actually not deceit and it's not a lie, right? So it's not, the definition of truthfulness includes reducing ahimsa, right? So it's actually not deceit.
Protect your self-interest.
Right. Protect your self-interest. You might lie, and that would be
Deceitful.
attachment, right? Maybe attachment. But is that a feeling? That would be when you want to protect something you have. What is that feeling? It's not
Fear.
jealous. Oh, it's fear. Yeah, fear.
Yes, fear.
Fear. That's an emotion, right? That's an emotion. So you might be deceitful because of fear.
Fear of something.
Yeah, your fear of losing that thing because you're attached to it. Great. So now that you understand, okay, anger is an emotion, and these other things are feelings, and they even might be more complex. If you are able to identify, the first step in combating anger, ego, deceit, and greed is identifying these feelings, knowing that they're there, and identifying it in yourself. So if for example, if you want to work on your deceit, you might start working on your fear and how to overcome your fear of losing things and fear of losing the material possessions. All right, so let's talk about our weapons against anger, ego, deceit, and greed. That is forgiveness, humility, straightforwardness, and contentment. Okay, so is forgiveness a emotion or a feeling or something else?
It's a feeling.
It should be feeling.
It's an action. It seems like a verb. You forgive somebody. But why do you forgive people? Because you have empathy, which is a feeling, right? Empathy. You have compassion. That's a feeling. Why else do you forgive people?
So you don't
Hi,
feel
come on
guilty.
in.
So you don't feel guilty.
So you don't feel guilty. You forgive somebody so you don't feel guilty. How does that work?
And also, like, if you want the things not to, like, you keep thinking about it, you, like, forgive that thing, so, you know, you don't keep thinking about it, you know, you have let it go, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order just to self-servingly get it out of your mind, you forgive somebody.
You forgive
Yeah.
somebody.
Okay, great.
For your own peace of mind, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. So humility, is that an emotion or feeling or something else?
Feeling.
It's a feeling.
Yeah.
You're a humble person. You have humility. It's a feeling. It's a way you live your life. What emotions make up humility? The emotions are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust.
Discuss.
Maybe if you're a humble person, you are not fearful of being shamed, you're not fearful of losing your attachments, you're not fearful of, so maybe it's humility is the absence of fear.
But it also gives you content and happiness.
Okay, so a mix of the removal of fear and happiness, because if you're humble, you're not afraid of looking bad, right? You're not afraid of, so that's very good.
It gives you satisfaction.
You're also straightforward.
Okay, straightforwardness. Is that an emotion, a feeling, or something else?
That's feeling.
Action. Well,
Yeah, it's, you tell the truth, right? You're straightforward. It's like a way you live your life. So it seems like it's something else. What feelings or emotions are associated with?
Like you are not fear of, again the same thing, right? I mean, not.
Oh, so you're not afraid of telling the truth?
Not afraid
You're
Right.
full of anger,
or
but you're not
fear.
angry at anyone. That's why you can be straightforward.
Right. Exactly. And you don't have any kind of shame or anything like that, because we said we lie to avoid shame and to protect things, right? And deceit, straightforwardness is the opposite of deceit. Okay, last one, contentment.
Also, we lie to change the story so we get more importance. Actually,
Right.
sometimes people lie.
So these are
because of-
combined, right? So you
Yeah.
lie to increase your ego, increase your pride, right? So these are, of course, all interrelated.
Yeah.
I like to want to break it down as, this is this plus this, but it's not like that, right?
Yeah.
It's all a little bit, some could be a little bit of other things, and it could dovetail into other experiences, right? So tell me about your life. I've done a lot of talking. So now that you understand, you might not have even known the difference between emotions and feelings, and now that you understand these feelings are available, now that you can identify these feelings, how can we improve our lives using this information? That's what this class is about, and that's what this class will always be about. How to increase the quality of your life using Jain principles.
Okay, so one thing is like being conscious of the emotions you're feeling. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, being conscious of your emotions, and then once you are conscious about it, then maybe take a step back, think through it, like why you're feeling that way,
Right.
and then do something about it.
We've all experienced this thing where we're angry and we don't even know it. That's how angry we are, right? We don't even know that we're yelling. Hey, come on in.
Sorry for that.
No problem. And so if you are able to first identify the emotional state that you're in, that's step one. It's usually the hardest step for most people.
You have mentioned a few times that the anger is directed always towards you.
That's right.
Right.
Anger is always directed toward the self.
And-
When you get angry, you are never angry at somebody else. You're always angry at yourself.
And thinking about that as an emotion, we said, I think you have mentioned this so many times that now I do kind of think about it. That why did I get upset? Because it didn't affect that other person really as much as it affects you.
Right.
And so now you think about it, right? Because you have put it that way, I think. It
Now
has to
that
be-
now that you believe it and know it's true, you're like, why did I do that? I just got angry at myself. Why would I want to do that? So now you've experienced a shift of a mindset where you're like, oh, okay, there was no reason to do that because I just got angry at myself. So now you want to investigate.
Yeah, and not that I've given up anger or anything here. It's being very transparent, but at least I think about it like that. Hey, was it worth it?
And I think the fact that you don't get the reaction you want will keep increasing your
Keep
anger.
increasing,
That's-
exactly.
Because you want a change or a reaction in the other person by you being angry. Simple thing as a kid, you may be angry because he or she is not doing something, and they typically after a certain age will not listen, and it
Yeah.
kind of keeps going on and on.
But
Yeah.
still, we have to keep reminding ourselves.
No,
It's
not.
very hard to follow every routine life.
It's a conscious effort, right?
So I read a very interesting quote about anger. It says that anger is the punishment you give to yourself for somebody else's mistake.
That's a really good
Which is
way
a
of putting it.
very nice way to think about it.
But I feel anger affects two way. One is first to us affects. Second thing, it affects the we can't just say that, oh, it doesn't affect it affects the other person also, and it's creating those memories and it attached to our personality too.
Right.
So it actually affects me definitely, but also I'm creating that kind of relationship that, okay,
Yes.
you know what, this is how it is. So anger actually affects me definitely, but even my relationship with that person, that
Right.
oh, you know what, a moment he would see me, he would remember all these memories. And that's how we relate to each other. We don't relate to each other because this person has this person has that. No, it is what relationship and how we reacted. So if I am getting angry, that's why someone says that, oh, he's a very angry guy, you know, like that way. So
Right. So
it affects
people
both.
won't remember what you say, but they will remember how
They
you
will
make them
how
feel.
you make them
Yeah.
feel. Exactly.
Because it's easy to give negative feedback than positive. We don't say enough when they do good job or average
Right.
job. But if one mistake there is, you like always lash it out, right, or point it out. So they are just going to remember it that way than being
And when you
he
get
always
angry-
gives me compliment.
Yeah, when you get angry, it's not only words, the expression, the face, everything they remember, especially the kids. They do it. So I feel that it affects both ways.
Right. So we're gonna compliment our children more.
Right?
Point out the good things they're doing instead of just
Yeah.
pointing out the bad things. That is, we might always just expect them to be good, so we never point out the good things that they're doing or point out the hard work that they're doing. Rather, we focus on the very, 5% of the time that they're screwing up.
Yeah.
I think
Same.
from work perspective, I will say, humility and straightforwardness can be strong leadership traits, right?
Right.
Like I work in consulting, right? Clients like working with humble and straightforward people, even though they, rather than really brilliant people but with other traits, because they don't know how to, they don't want to get in those emotional dramas and stuff. So
Right.
straightforward and humility are amazing leadership qualities that can get you ahead in life from a work perspective, even though it may take a longer path because you may not sometimes get everything up front. But
Right.
longer time, you build better relationship with your coworkers and clients.
That's great. That's a great way to use Jane principles to increase the quality of your life.
Yeah. So at what point, like let's say for example, a coach getting angry on a player if the player has not performed well. Do you think that really spoils the relationship between the coach and the
No,
player?
that relationship is different. It's determined, right? He's trying to improve them. That is what it is. And coach doesn't get angry. He just gets angry, but related to only sports. Do not bring. So as far as if I just say few things and that is also nicely evenly anger, then kids do not take a wrong way. But anger means that there are different kind of levels of angers. If you're level 1, then it's okay. If you're going at level 5, that's the worst anger. So
Right.
again, there is a levels of anger which we have to
But you bring up a good
think
point,
of.
which is how do you coach your children when
Yeah.
they are actually not doing something right, and how do you correct the behavior better? It's a hard trait.
Who are we if not lifetime coaches?
Exactly.
Also, it depends. The anger depends on who it is coming from. I say the same thing might affect you differently than someone else tell you the same thing, right?
Right.
So, because again, everyone have a mindset or personality of the
Personality
other
is
person
one,
in
yeah.
their head, and when that crosses,
Yeah.
that makes them feel
You're so right.
different way.
Like my daughter, if I get angry, she won't listen. But if her nana gets angry, she will listen.
Right.
So that you're absolutely right. I think it also depends. And I think to his point, it also comes from a relationship angle as well. There's probably a higher sense of respect for him versus me. That might be like the case.
Yeah, I mean, it happens with kids all the time because teachers do it and they are fine. We say it doesn't work.
Exactly.
And I mean, because it's there in their mindset, right? Like, no, we are there, we have to follow it. At home, they know they can take advantage of
Correct.
us, right? So it's just the relationship, the personality they have in their mind. is
Sometimes
different.
it's too much of instructions that lead to,
Yeah.
that actually kids just don't want to listen, and then we agitate ourselves, and then
Yeah.
things just.
And when they are doing 98% time correct, we are like okay, but at 2% wrong and we pointed out, they say, oh, what happened to my 98%?
And that's, I mean, the whole notion of praise in public and criticize in private.
Private, exactly.
Right? That really helps.
Yeah.
That really helps to balance this whole anger, happiness, and relationship equation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I was a real example of that. I got angry at my son for small thing, very small, not even anger. Like I just criticized him a small thing, like he had done something incorrectly, and a friend was there.
Yeah.
And for that, he was so upset about
So
it.
upset.
Because for him, it's like, you know, all my friends think you were the best dad in the world, and you did this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I will never. And it was like, can you please put your toy away? But because he didn't do it well enough, I was like, can you put it away? Like in a little bit irritated tone, and that affected him a lot more than anything else I've done.
Exactly.
And so now that we understand that it's very important for us to monitor our emotions and our feelings as well, how do we check in with ourselves? That is, doesn't it feel like exhausting if I'm supposed to think about how I'm thinking all the time?
Oh yeah. That is exhausting.
I can't just be, right? I have to think about how I am.
Yeah.
That's what we call mindfulness, is
Yeah.
thinking about how you are all the time. And one way to do it is to have certain intervals where you check in throughout the day. So when you start out, maybe do it twice a day. You check in with your emotional state, right? And then as you get better, maybe you might do it 4 times or 5 times a day. And you might think, hey, that's too many times. No, that's actually too few times, because you're supposed to do it when you get good enough. You do it in every moment. And once you're able to understand your emotional state in every moment, you're able to let thoughts go. You're able to, the anger rises up in you and you let it go, because you've practiced letting thoughts go, thoughts and feelings go. And it's exhausting at first. You're right. It's a lot of work, because you're like living 2 lives, right? You're living your actual life, and then you're living your meta life about how your actual life is going. But once you get in the habit of it, and once you practice mindfulness every day and in each moment, it's actually free. Okay, so that's when we talk about things like you're waking up and you're removing the bonds that you have been chained to. Okay, that's when you enter a different state of, you're on the next step towards the path to enlightenment. Okay, and it's actually very freeing once you do it in each moment. And then you have control over your feelings, because that's what we're going for, right? They are our enemies, right? Anger, ego, deceit, greed. We're trying to get control over them. And it's exhausting to try to get that control, but once you have it, you will never forget it. And you will always try to go back to it, being the master of those feelings, emotions, and feelings.
So I have 2 things to say about it. I have been doing that actually.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I have been doing it.
Tell us how it is from the other side there.
It is going really good. A moment.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you been doing what exactly?
So I'll give you yesterday's episode. Like, I was very exhausted doing some housework and all, and I was like, we were talking something, and then I didn't like the way we were talking and all. So I'm like, okay, this is not going the way I'm expecting it, whether I'm not understanding it. And I was wrong, because I was very tired and all, so I was not listening and processing correctly, so I was giving different answers. I said, oh, right now it's not going correctly because I'm tired. So I said, okay, I'm very tired, let's talk about this tomorrow. And then when we talked today morning, it was completely different.
Right.
So I'm monitoring that. But 2 things. One is, I'm monitoring it, and I'm feeling so bad that I have to monitor it because I'm that bad. First feeling is that
you realize how bad you were.
How bad I am, that,
previously.
like, you know how we drive the car and I have to pay attention. I'm that bad at
Right.
driving. And second thing is, when we monitor like that and when we are getting improving, only myself I know that I am improving, right? And we don't get the recognition and appreciation and all. So I'm like, okay, what am I achieving? Only me is improving, but it is for me. So these 2 feelings, I have it many times. But yeah, I have been doing this from last few months, and it's helping me a lot.
That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. There's
Even in my office, when my manager is talking and something I didn't like, then I tell her that, okay, can I call you in 30 minutes? And then I take a break, I analyze it, and I respond, and she says that, I don't know what happened to you, but you have completely changed. So I'm pretty straightforward that, okay, I'm taking a break because I'm not understanding what you're saying right now.
Right.
Or my emotions are, because when those things were coming to me, my emotions were different. Now I'm trying to change those emotions and reaction. So I need a break, I need to analyze, and then I give back. So
right.
yeah, it's helping me a lot.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
there's no need to feel shame about progress, right? When we progress, we're going to look back on ourselves and cringe, right? How could I have done that before? Well, you weren't awake before. You weren't thinking about that before. You can only start where you are now and do the best you can with the tools you have. So there's no need to feel shame about the person that you were. You always want to try to keep getting better. That's great. I'm really glad about that. I'm really glad that somebody is having an experience like that when you apply Jane principles to your life, because it tells the rest of us that, hey, there's something there that I don't know about that I can look forward to and kind of strive to. And there's something there that will help me improve the quality
So
of my
I'll give
life.
you an example. I have one friend in India. He has been doing Pratikaman. He's same my school friend. He has been doing Pratikaman from last 1.5 year. I met him this time when I went to India, and he says his wife and family and all were saying he has changed so much. And I asked him what's. He says whenever I'm doing Pratikaman, I'm listening now. I'm not going. I'm doing 1 hour every day. So I'm understanding. I'm doing so many Michhami Dukkadam so many times. Then why should I do those mistakes every
Right.
day? So that's how the Pratikaman is not just doing for the sake of doing it, but he's doing it every day now. So it changed his thoughts.
Right. If only for the reason that
Yeah.
he doesn't want to keep doing that during
that.
the Pratikama. Then because that's mindfulness too, right? He's like,
Introspection,
oh, I gotta make up for this later today. Let me
Yes.
just not do it now,
Yes.
right? What is that but if not for mindfulness, right? That is thinking about how we are thinking.
I think that one more thing is like to monitor your emotions and all that. It's like you should check your breathing.
Right.
I think when you have these anger, anxiety, and all, your breath is a little short. When you're more relaxed, it's more deep breathing. So
Right.
that's one thing that someone can check.
That's great because it's always something you have. And so when we do a breathing meditation exercise, we focus our awareness on our breathing, right? And we focus on breathing in and breathing out and breathing in and breathing out, right? And that tells us that our awareness is different from our thoughts because we have all these thoughts that are intruding. And as we focus on our breathing, we have no choice but to let them go because we move our awareness to our breath. And once we realize that awareness is different from thoughts, that's the first step to freeing your mind, okay? Because the awareness is one of the properties that your soul gives to your body, right? And the thoughts are produced by the subconscious and delivered to the conscious brain, which is all part of your body, right? So that's the first step in believing that you're a soul, in believing that there is something there other than the body, because it's your awareness. The body does not produce awareness, the soul produces awareness. And so that's very important for a lot of reasons, one of which is checking in with yourself and monitoring how deep or shallow you're breathing, and that will give you a clue as to your emotional state. Is anybody here very in touch with their emotions and feelings? Is anybody here very not in touch with their emotions and feelings?
I mean, whenever I feel overwhelmed with the situation at the end of the day, the thing that always works for me is that I go alone on a 30-minute walk.
Right.
Especially with with no phone, and just walking, just thinking about it, and that calms me down a lot.
Right.
So that's a trick that I have kind of learned.
That's
over
a great
period of
one.
time. That whenever I feel emotionally or overwhelmed, that's what I do. And that helps me calm me down a lot.
That's great. So tell me how you're going to change your life based on what we learned here. Are you going to take a walk for 30 minutes? Are you going to check in with yourself twice a day? I want to know. It's easy to talk about in here, but it's hard when the kids are yapping and you got to do this and do that. When we go out of these doors, that is, what are you going to do based on what we learned today?
I think check-in has to be. Check-in has to be there.
Okay, so break out your phone and set an alarm. Do it right now. Get your phone out, set an alarm. When? 7:30 in the morning, 7:30 in the evening? And then your, check-in alarm? And then you check in with your breathing, you check in with your emotions. You know what? I've said this story before. I used to hate spam calls because they would interrupt what I was doing, and it would kind of just be a distraction, and I'd have to refocus on my work and things like that. But now I love spam calls. You know why? Because I check in with what I'm doing whenever I get one. So that's my alarm now. I check in, am I on task? Am I focused? Am I doing this? Am I following my goals? Where's my goal sheet? I don't have my goal sheet. And it makes me kind of be mindful. So now I love spam calls. Now actually I don't get enough spam calls. And it's easy for me to refocus after because I know that I've checked in and I know that, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm not distracted by the spam call anymore. It actually refocuses me. So that's what this alarm that you're setting is for.
So one thing is helping me is that morning, in the night before sleeping, I make a list for tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And because this used to happen to me is that I would have a list of items on my things to do in a day, and I won't be able to finish, and I feel like anxious and anything. And the moment somebody tells me something to do, I have 10 things on my mind, so I'll get, oh, I'm not doing it and all those things.
Right.
Make a list of it and don't put too many items, but whatever you put and whatever time you allocate, make sure you finish it. That way 4 p.m. you are done and you are like, okay, ready.
Right.
Let's bring something else.
Right. That's great. Because once it's written down, you can worry about it later. You don't have to worry about remembering.
Exactly.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I started doing that, 2 years ago you told me? I love it.
Yeah, I started from a month.
So I write down what I just don't remember.
List is a
either my
life changer.
task or
Yes.
this. And I cross it off. I visit it 2-3 times a day. I keep on adding things, I remove things. Feel great about it.
Feels great about it. Exactly.
Yeah, at work, actually putting things on calendar, even if those which are not immediate and
Right.
keep bothering you, like just putting them on calendar that you have, block some time for that. That helps a lot too.
And then what I like to do is I revisit and see what I've accomplished. Like,
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then I also turn page like, oh my god, it's still pending.
You know what you should do? You should put some already completed task also in there.
Yeah. But now I've done is I keep only the tasks that I have to do.
Have
on
to
that.
do, exactly.
The most priority. Other than that, it just starts cluttering. And then I read a book, Who Not How to Delegate.
Right.
I'm in love with it. Sheetal hates it, but I'm in love with it.
Because you delegate to her?
Pick up kids. I'm like, no, that's your task.
Send us the reference on the group chat to everybody.
So tell me more about how you're going to change your life.
I will just initially what I can take from today is with the smallest thing that I can start with when my emotions are at peak. I'll just take the break that I need.
Right.
And I think that may help me to think better, as he mentioned. And that did work with me a couple of times, but I'm not good at it. So I'm just going to try my best to keep it consistently. Whenever my emotions are big, I just take that break and then come back again with a different person altogether.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of times, like you said, we don't know when we are angry, right?
Right.
But we know what situations we get into that do, trigger that.
Right.
And so I would say before, you mentioned check-ins. So maybe a good opportunity to do is during check-ins is prepare and say, okay, I'm about to do this on this day. Expect some agitation, but make a plan for how you'll react to it.
That's really
So maybe preparing for that ahead of time might help.
So I heard a podcast on that actually. All of us behave, even the stock market behaves based on emotional pattern. Completely, our
100%.
actions are 110%. They can predict that this guy is going to do this. You see that. So our is like an emotional pattern is done. Like you hear the couple story. They said he does this and it triggers me this. He does this, and so our behavior is completely emotional pattern which we have got it from Purva Sanskar or whatever it is. That is why we are here to kind of break that bad emotional pattern. But all of us are emotional pattern.
And tell me what we're going to do with our children, right? How do we teach our children that, well, these things are ruining your life? And if you devote yourself to checking in with yourself and understanding yourself, you will have a better life. How do I explain that to an 8-year-old or to a 5-year-old or to a 13-year-old?
Looking for ideas.
What's that?
I'm looking for ideas.
Yes, we're all looking for ideas. Does anybody know?
So basically, I have a 13-year-old teenager, right? So he goes through this emotional cycle, and I just let him just be him. You know, I just know it's okay. Within 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes stop, he comes out. I'll hug and Daddy, I'm sorry. So now I used to get upset. Now I'm like, it's okay. Don't want to do this? It's okay. 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But I give him that time frame. If not, that freaking lingers for 20 minutes.
Right.
So I give him like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's okay. You want to cry? It's okay, cry.
Right. So, but then do you reinforce that, hey, did you see that? That was transitory. And 10 minutes later, it's all done. So next time it'll be shorter, and maybe next time it'll be shorter, things like that.
Right. It hasn't become shorter, but but he is understanding the pattern. I understand the pattern, and now I've 15 minutes break, 7 minutes break. So the breaks are getting smaller now.
Right.
So if it sits for 45 minutes, like you'll get 7-minute break. Now I do this odd because I know that 7 is going to turn 10.
Yeah.
Because if I give him 10, it's 15.
Right.
So like 6 minutes break, 3 minutes break, so odd breaks. So.
That's great. So you're teaching him that it will pass. And so he doesn't make rash decisions while he's in that state, and he doesn't make stupid decisions because he knows it'll pass.
It will pass.
That's great.
Right.
You're taking away his impulsivity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get out of it. I take him out of it, and I tell him it's okay.
So I was in a workshop yesterday. It was a parent boot camp, and one of the ladies over there she was reading a book, and very interesting ideas she shared from the book, which is about kids, right? Like generally when kids do something wrong, or the expectations that we've set with them, they don't adhere to those expectations. Our general tendency is to take something away from them. Right? Means, hey, you are grounded, you'll not get an iPad time, or you blah blah blah, whatever, right? But she's like, what if we give them not a punishment, but we give them something that will be, hey, you did this, now guess what? You'll have to take your dad out for a dinner, and you'll have to pay for that. Right?
So it has no relation to what they did wrong?
Yes. So you take your dad out for dinner, and you'll pay for that. Or you will take a walk with me for 15 minutes. It's similar to a little bit like you, because you did that. You know, every day now you will take a walk for 15 minutes with me, right? If you give these kind of tasks to them, they also help in relationship building, and it doesn't make them further away from you.
Right.
Right? Wherein you give them something that, hey, you're not supposed to touch this, and thus then you're grounded. This kind of things can actually help build a better bonding and relationship with your kids.
Right.
Which I thought was a very good, interesting twist to how we.
And especially from an age, I think under 9 years old, the earlier part about taking and giving them rewards works, but I think after that it really impacts the relationship the other way. So I think that's a great way, especially after the 9-10.
Right.
You need to bond with them more.
Exactly.
Right. So
What
instead
are
of
the
go to
other
your room,
ideas?
let's go take a walk.
Let's go take a walk.
That's a good idea. What are the other ideas?
Yeah,
The one that really was there. You know, my brain filters things. So this one was that did not filter, it kept it to itself. So I shared this with the group.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
that was-
it's interesting.
it's an interesting
Definitely
one. Yeah.
Better than always threatening them with taking away.
Exactly.
Positive
away things.
reinforcement.
Exactly.
And how do we teach our children forgiveness, humility, straightforwardness, and contentment? Big words for our kids to even say.
It starts with yourself, right?
Exactly.
And set an example.
You have to have a situation where they see it repeatedly, and hopefully it will stay in them. But I can tell you, I remember lessons learned when I was a kid that I'm implementing now. I may not have appreciated it then.
Correct.
As a kid.
I was going to say that time my mom was saying me all kind of things. I'm like, okay, this is parents' job, but now I'm on the same page.
It's like you just create those positive
Same
experiences for them
page,
all the time.
Or when the situation will come in their life, they will see, oh, my parents reacted like this,
Correct.
I have to react like this. Exactly, yes.
I mean, I think it's for everyone, right? That what we preach them, if we don't doing that, then they're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Then that is also a very slim chance that even if we are doing, they probably may or may not do. So you just hope that you keep practicing that, and hopefully eventually they'll do that.
And how can we use our feelings to reinforce the 5 vows? Who remembers the 5 vows that we take?
Non-cheating.
Non-violence,
Non-violence,
no stealing,
no attachment.
non-lying, non-stealing, non-attachment, and certain forms of celibacy, right? So let's talk about non-violence. Now that we understand the difference between emotions and feelings and maybe how they affect our life, how can we use that to practice our vow of non-violence?
Choosing the right words. I've learned one thing from you is, if you want to even criticize, choose the right words.
Right.
Because I think that is, again, I don't know if you call it positive enforcement or whatever it is, but it is so hard.
Right.
In that moment, like these words first, I forget things. Right? Like, oh my God, so I pause, and sometimes that pause kills that environment for either positive or negative. But I think sometimes if I remember, I'll just be choosing the right words, making the whole transaction or scenario or whatever it is in a proper way, calm it down.
Right.
Things
Instead
are-
of saying, that's a stupid way to do that,
Exactly.
say, well, what about this way, right? Or what did you think about this, right?
Exactly.
So we can reduce the violence that we cause in our life, which of course has knock-on effects, right? It reduces the violence that our children cause, and it reduces the negativity of the whole interaction.
Right.
Yeah,
The
and
one
that
thing
point,
that-
actually, violence is not only about actions.
Yeah.
It's violence. More violence happens because of words. I love it.
With us, Jainism, it's all words. We
Absolutely.
are not going to
100%.
hit or kill anybody.
Correct.
Right.
Hopefully.
One thing I also learned is instead of saying no, and if you teach your kids as well, to redirect it to something else. Negotiate with the kids if you need to. Instead of a no, like for example, I said you wanted to something simple, right? Instead of saying no, it's like redirect it in a smaller, different form, and they will
Right.
also learn the same way. Hopefully, that instead of saying no to us, they will try to negotiate, which is not always working. They may work against us, but at least they get out of the habit of that oppositional kind of a no.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of weeks back somebody shared, so they don't say no, but they say, yes, we will do in 5 minutes. Or
Sure.
yes, we'll do it tomorrow.
Or slightly differently.
Yeah.
Instead of this, we can do this.
So my
Fair point.
kids figured it out, they know. If yes, in 5 minutes, never going to happen.
How about non-lying?
Is that non-lying?
Yes,
Funny, like,
yes,
it
telling
catches-
a
In fact, if it's not done, you're like, Papa.
yeah, so this is an important point that we often get confused. It's about the definition of what a lie is, okay? So it's okay to tell a lie if it's reduction in harm, because that actually is not the definition of lying. It's not a lie. If you tell somebody that there is no bug in the house when you know that they're going to kill it, and you know that there is a bug in the house, it's not a lie. Because you're reducing the amount of harm that is happening in the world. So by definition, it's not a lie. I say it's okay to lie, but it's
Right.
just kind of the words play out that way. By definition, it's not a lie. So how about non-lying? How can we use our newfound knowledge of emotions and feelings to practice this vow of non-lying? Why do we lie? What emotions and feelings are involved in lying? We talked about it during deceit.
Fear.
Right.
Fear,
Right.
anger.
Okay, nobody wants to talk about that. How about non-stealing? Why do we steal things? Jealousy, greed, envy, right?
Even fear sometimes.
Even fear. How about non-attachment? Why are we attached to things?
Very difficult.
That's very
That's
hard.
the hardest
That's the
one.
toughest.
Oh my God.
And that's the reason for all these things.
Yeah.
It's the root cause.
Because when we were talking about anger, I understand anything which is related to me. All these are related to me. Yeah? If my son does something wrong, I will be angry. But if the same mistake is done by someone else, I won't be. It won't affect me.
Right.
Because he is related to me.
Right. You feel responsible for his actions.
If you get a spam calls, it's ruining your time. But if I get, you won't be angry.
Right.
So
Right.
it is related to me. That is why.
Because you have those attachments. Well, part of the reason is that when kids are kids, we suffer the consequences of their actions.
That's true.
Because they make a mess, they're not going to clean it up. We have to clean it up. That's why we get angry when they make a mess. And what happens is when they're older, we forget about that part. My child is 11 now, the oldest one. Now when she makes a mess, I haven't been getting as angry because she cleans it up. Because I know she has to clean it up, and she knows she has to clean it up. So now I'm letting that go. But a lot of times we don't let that go. And then they're 25, they make a mess, we get mad at them.
Yeah.
What is the point? There's no point, they're an adult, right? But we still got mad at them because we haven't grown ourselves like they have. And so that's exactly right. That's what we're talking about, this kind of attachment, right?
So I don't know whether I should say I like or not, but I like about especially Americans, once their kids are 16, they're like, okay, go, I'm done, it's your responsibility. And I've also seen the cases where they have done something really wrong and they get into a trouble and all, they say it was your responsibility, you did it.
Right.
So they don't try to, correct that action or hide or nothing. You did it, it's your responsibility. You have to take the action.
That's very Jane of them, right? You suffer the consequences of your actions, right? Maybe they're practicing Jainism a little better than we are.
Yes, exactly.
As long as they're doing it for the right reason, right? If you're doing it for non-attachment reasons, yes. If they're doing it because of convenience, it's a different story. Fair, right? I mean, as a Jain,
That's fair, yeah.
because I would love that, right?
Exactly.
Because it frees us up. But at the same time, I think because it's hard, because as Asian generally as parents, you'll always want to see your child succeed even when they are 50 years old, right?
We're helicopter parents.
So it's hard, I agree, but I think here many times I think the parents do it for the right reason, but sometimes they do it for convenience because they're done. Right?
They are doing for convenience, but they are ready to, even though they are not doing for convenience, they make their child to own his actions.
That's fair.
Even though it is what
That's
it is, I mean,
true.
they are rich and they have a kids. No, but you did this action, and
very true.
they correct it. Even now, they say, no, you own this action, because I've heard it many times. Even at go to Kroger and you own this because you did this. Now you do it.
That's good.
So at least they are putting that in their life mindset, saying that no, you own your actions. You cannot come to me for that.
That's true. That's a good point.
What emotions or feelings make us attached to things? Remember, the emotions are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, disgust. What emotions or feelings make us attached to things or people or relationships or
fear that we will lose, and out of boredom and all those things. Fear.
Ego as well.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, almost all of them. That's right. How about celibacy? What emotions or feelings are involved, right? Desire, certainly. Envy, certainly, right? We experience lust, which is our pursuit of happiness, and hedonism, right? And so we want to limit those. If we limit those, we're less likely to break our vow. Remember, we talked about celibacy. It's not just like, I'm content with my spouse and that's it. It's a lot more than that. Other questions or comments about anything we talked about today? Thank you so much for your time this week. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.